A new attorney general isn't the only good news President Barack Obama got from Congress this week. He's also a step closer to getting approval to a fast-track trade deal across Asia. The Trans-Pacific Partnership would involve a dozen countries, from the United States, Canada, and Mexico, to Chile and Peru, over to Australia, New Zealand, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, as well as Japan. The negotiators have been working on it for years. Supporters say it would balance China's growing economic power, but detractors say it would destroy jobs in the United States. We've heard that one. This past week, the Senate agreed to limit its role in making amendments to the deal, and that's what puts it on a fast track. The House of Representatives might not be so amenable. But the trade agreement is forging strange partnerships, as you can imagine. Giacomo Santangelo is an economist from Fordham University. Professor, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's good to be here.
This deal, I guess, obviously has pros and cons. I want you to explain and break this down. What are the pros and cons of this deal, in your opinion?
Well, I think the pros with any trade agreement, whether we call it a trade agreement or we call it a partnership, is that opening up trade has two main benefits. It has an economic benefit and it has a kind of cultural benefit, a political benefit. It's more difficult for a nation to do dirty deeds and get away with it when they have close partnerships and agreements with other countries.
All right,
so
Professor, who's doing the dirty deeds in your mind?
No one right now.
Oh, okay.
No one's doing anything. But you know, issues that we have. You know, if your next door neighbor is being unpleasant to the neighbor on the other side, it's much easier for you to say, hey, you know what, you should be nicer to them if they're borrowing your lawnmower.
But wouldn't you agree that front and center here, Professor, is indeed China? They have been accused of raping minerals and all sorts of things in Africa and other places. A lot of people say that perhaps may be out of control. There are no checks and balances. Wouldn't you think that this kind of deal is put in place to kind of put handcuffs on China in terms of what they're doing around the world?
Well, first of all, no country is truly innocent of doing things of that nature. That being said, China not being involved in this particular agreement, one of the main benefits to the United States is that all 12 of these countries combined, us and the other 11 countries combined, the level of GDP of those countries is still not twice that of China. So, I mean, it does give us some power economically in the region. But giving us that power, perhaps one day in the future, China will want to become a member. They're saying that it is inevitable that China will become a member.
So what are the long-term effects here?
Well, I think one of the issues, because you asked me before what people are concerned about, one of the issues with any trade agreement is that as you move from when you move from labor-intensive production to capital-intensive production, there's going to be job loss. And any trade agreement that is going to be successful in moving from labor-intensive exports to capital-intensive exports must do something for labor, must do something. That's why the AFL-CIO is concerned about this. Elizabeth Warren has come out and spoken with regard to this negatively because of the concern about job loss in the United States.
What are the parallels, if any, you can compare this agreement to NAFTA, which was very controversial to a lot of folks, especially Americans in this country who felt they were losing a lot of jobs?
Certainly. Well, it's difficult to say specifically because the specific terms of this agreement are not being made public at this time. That being said,
this is like the nuclear deal. People are yelling and screaming about it, but they still don't know.
We don't know specifically what kind of tariffs, what kind of quotas. We know nothing about the specifics to this.
Why are we talking about this then? I got it. No, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but the point of the matter is that there are a lot of things that we don't know about this, but there are folks that have concerns, especially for those here in this country who say they may lose jobs, but these jobs may be lost anyway to technology.
Well, if your boss behind closed doors is talking to other people in upper management about you and you don't know about your job security, I think you would want to talk about it as well.
The end game on this, Professor, what do you see it being down the road? Say 10, 20, 30 years from now. What are the effects?
Again, we still don't know what the true long-term effects of NAFTA are all these years later. We were told by then President Bush and then presidential candidate H. Ross Perot, two completely different things about NAFTA, and neither one of them were completely accurate. So again, not knowing any of the specific terms of this deal, who knows what's going to end up happening.
Professor, this sounds like the grand science experiment that we won't know until after somebody really gets affected one way or the other.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
We'll keep our eyes on it. Of course, you'll be here with us. Professor Santangelo, thank you so much, as
Thanks.
always.
Great being here.
Okay.